Hi, my name is Zara Pilavani, and I didn't learn English until kindergarten. As an Eastern European American, I never found this odd. I've been fortunate to have grown up in an inclusive and supportive environment. Many of my friends and I have been able to assimilate to American life and American culture while still maintaining knowledge of our origins and speaking our native languages. For me, that's normal. So I found it rather interesting that out of nearly 18 million kids in the United States who have bilingual parents, barely half of them are actually bilingual. Think about this. This is like if a fourth of all Americans could fly, yet only half of them actually used this ability. And this is really analogous because the truth is that knowing a second language is literally a superpower. And what about the other 3/4 of the population who aren't born into bilingual households? Well, they can learn to fly with a second language and reap its benefits just as well. When you are bilingual, you are constantly switching between two languages. At home, for example, I tend to speak Bulgarian, whereas at school I speak English. When I'm with my bilingual friends, we speak in Anglarian, a mix of the two. It turns out that this subconscious switching behavior can have some crazy effects in life that aren't necessarily related to language. Researchers at UCSB found that the dorsolateral prefrontal cortex, or DLPFC, was activated when participants had to switch between naming pictures in English and Spanish. The dorsolateral prefrontal cortex is a part of the brain associated with things like attention and blocking out information you know but don't need at the moment. That last part's called inhibition. One study showed that students who spoke two languages were better at picking out a specific sound in the midst of background noise. This shows that if you're bilingual, you can tune out distractions better because your inhibitory functions are enhanced from the constant exercise of inhibiting the language that's not currently in use. Another interesting thing is that knowing a second language expands your perception and how you analyze events and situations. For example, if a native German speaker saw the man in this picture, they would probably say that the man walks towards the building. But a native English speaker would simply say that he is walking. In this sense, speaking German causes you to pay closer attention to the end goal of the action, whereas speaking English causes you to pay closer attention to the action itself. Why? Because of grammatical constraints. In English, we use present participles ending in ing, as in walking, to describe ongoing actions, whereas in German and even Bulgarian, this doesn't exist, only the base verb, as in walks. As such, in German and Bulgarian, you need to tack on an extra modifier in order for the sentence to sound and feel more complete. This exact phenomenon was studied in an experiment with German and English monolinguals as well as bilinguals. Those who spoke both languages were able to articulate and perceive the images as both end-goal-oriented and action-oriented. In real-world applications, speaking two languages adds dimension to the way you perceive events, which in turn may help with problem solving. There are other less concrete examples too. There hasn't been too much research into language specifics and what effects they have on your worldview, but there are intriguing grammatical rules that could have influenced your perception. For example, in Bulgarian, we have two grammatical past tenses for verbs depending on whether you are a first-hand witness. So if I were discussing ancient Rome, I would use the form of was, bilo, which immediately conveys that I wasn't a part of it. Yet if I told you what I saw Jenny was doing in the hallway today, I would use beshe for was, because I saw it firsthand. English has no such distinction, and in the Bulgarian language, credibility is tied to direct experience. Interestingly, in Bulgarian, the Bible is written in the form of was of first-hand experience, which increases trust in religion. Moreover, in Spanish, the word for hope and the word for wait are one and the same, esperar. This might show that hope is perceived as the expectation that something will happen if you only wait long enough. In Bulgarian, we have separate words for dream, as in what you do when you sleep, and dream as in an aspiration. In Bulgarian, dream is exclusively what you do when you sleep. Could this mean that those brought up speaking English perceive their aspirations as being more far-fetched? So, the Bulgarian language has distinct words for such subtly nuanced abstractions, yet it somehow fails to offer separate words for leg and foot, where English does. Same goes for fingers and toes. In Bulgarian, they're both called fingers. Go figure. In Spanish, you have heat, you have hunger, and you have fear, whereas in English you are hungry, you are afraid, and you are hot. In English, these things are a feature of you, whereas in Spanish, they are things you are temporarily in possession of and can get rid of at any time. Being bilingual has also shown to have a number of health benefits as well. It increases gray matter volume in the prefrontal cortex, bettering cognitive capacity and resilience. Bilingualism has also proved to help delay the brain aging process, and can even decrease the likelihood of developing things like dementia and Alzheimer's. So, what if all second, third, fourth, fifth generation children knew their native languages? What if it was part of the American norm which we all assimilate to for everyone to know a second language? What if these attributes came along with us all into the workplace? Well, according to recent studies, being bilingual can earn you between 5 and 20% more than your monolingual employee counterparts. Americans lose almost $2 billion per year because of language or cultural misunderstandings. So being bilingual can help the country's overall economy. According to New American Economy, demand for bilingual skills isn't limited to one end of the skills spectrum, but instead is spread across the economy as a whole. Bilingualism can help you in most jobs, not just one. Having lots of multilingual employees also helps companies be better prepared to grow internationally. So by encouraging bilingualism, both inherent and learned, we can better equip ourselves to perform well in an increasingly interconnected world. We can become better at focusing, remembering, and multitasking, and can improve our cognitive health for our entire lives. We would foster intercultural understanding and tolerance because we'll understand how come German speakers are more goal-oriented while English speakers are action-oriented, or how come English-speaking babies are born with 10 fingers and 10 toes while Bulgarian babies are born with 20 fingers.